Welcome to part 5 of the Poke and Prod tutorial series. In the last episode, we looked at how to take and deal damage. Now, we're going to shift gears to another topic, UI. In this episode, we're going to create a super basic UI for the player to keep track of its health. Before we get started, let's go back to the player object and reset its health to 5, so that it doesn't get one-shot every single time. Perfect. Now, what you're going to do is right-click on Hierarchy, go to UI, and you're gonna create a canvas. You'll notice that it created a canvas and an event system. Remember that in order for a UI to work, there always has to be an event system. So if you don't have it, it's not gonna work and you'll get really frustrated. So, next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna click on the canvas. You're gonna hover the scene view, and press F, and you'll notice that it zooms you up to this massive thing. The canvas doesn't necessarily lie in the game world. It's more attached to your screen. And so if you look over here at render mode, it says screen space overlay, which means whatever you do, it will appear in size on your screen. This might not make too much sense right now, but it'll make more sense as we progress. The way we're going to manage health is using a slider. So let's click on Canvas. Right-click on Canvas and then go to UI, and then find Slider. You see that it adds it right in the middle, and it looks a little different than what the end game one looks like. So let's fix that. First, I'm going to name it to HP Slider, and then let's fix it to the top right corner. The way you're going to do that is, you're gonna go click on this little crosshair looking thing right here. And notice that it has a bunch of anchor presets, as it calls. So this is a way of anchoring the slider to certain places on your screen. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna press Shift and Alt at the same time. We need to click the top left one to put it in the top left. You'll notice that it's very tight up in the corner, so we're gonna give it a bit more space by setting X value to 5 and positive Y to -5. It still might look a little tight, so feel free to change it if you don't want it to look like that. Let's take a look at what a slider is. So if you go to the right, and interactable refers to if you can drag around this value or not. It's pretty useful if you want to have it on your settings, where you want to set, for instance, the volume in the game to a certain level. Then you can leave it as interactable. For our purposes, it doesn't really matter because we're going to remove the part that makes it an interactable anyways. But if you scroll down further, let's take a look at these values. So min value, max value, you notice that the range is 0 to 1. Which means we'll have to work in fractions. And that's okay because we're going to be doing some math to handle it. And then this is the value that the slider is currently representing. You'll notice that if I drag the slider, it actually reflects in the slider in the top left. You see it going back and forth. Now, we're going to start deleting things so that it looks a little cleaner. First of all, we want to get rid of this circle. That is the handle slide area. We're going to take this in, and for Mac, you'll press Command Delete. And for Windows, it's most likely Control Alt Delete. Okay, back to the slider. And see, if you zoom in right here, even though it's set as 1, it doesn't feel like it's all the way. And there's an easy way to fix this. First, we're going to go to Fill Area, and you'll notice that it's currently 5 to the left, 15 on the right. We're just going to zero both of those out. And now it should be filled. Also, let's change the color so that it's a better color for health. Health is generally always red, so that's what we're gonna do. But you can make it whatever color you want. Now let's go back to the slider and make sure it fits and works. Now you'll notice that there's still some sort of red showing even though the value is 0. And although the game should end immediately, it doesn't really look like that. So we're going to fix it. Go to Fill, and for width, you're going to type 0. Let's go back to HP Slider and make sure it works. Value at 0, value at 100, and everywhere in the middle. And it seems to make sense. So far, so good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the script and make sure that we can modify this bar using code. So, open up your player controller. First thing we're going to do is add a keyword so that we can actually use Unity's UI. So, using unityengine.ui. Now, under health variables, because that's where we're going to store it, we're going to make a public slider HP slider. So we can access this in the inspector, so we don't need to worry about in awake. However, we do need to do one thing. So we have access to the HP slider, but the HP slider is currently set to value 0. We want to set it to whatever its max value is. So HP slider dot value equals cur health divided by max health. Since current health is equal to max health, this should be 1, which means the value here will be 1, which means it's filled. So now we have to figure out when exactly the HP slider's value can change. So let's go back down to our health functions. We're going to do HP slider dot value equals current health divided by max health. And we'll just copy and paste this. And then change UI. Let's go back to the scene and check if it works. Before we do that, we have to make sure we set the value. So go to Player. We have this field for your slider, so we're just going to drop and drag that here. Cool, now let's play the game. If I'm walking around, and for some reason I take damage, my bar sets. There's really no way to heal it, unless there's chests, but we can verify that the slider does work so far. We're not going to be showing you guys how to make any other UI in this video, so that's it for now. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.